before
Sure.
I forget.
Yeah.
Don't want to make you do this twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like bawling, and it's like, and this is what my passion was. Oh, sorry, forgot to. Could you do that again? So,
Once more with
Exactly.
feeling.
once more, yeah, exactly. Do it like you mean it.
Yeah. No, but this is great. Um, yeah, yeah, we were excited to, like, you were the one who reached out and showed us the project, and we were yeah, it was such a nice thing. It was, I think, in November that you reached out, and then Christmas happened and everything was a little bonkers. But thank you for this. It's well, actually, I'm just gonna let you talk
Absolutely,
about
yeah.
it. Um, I'm gonna start off with the question. Find my list here. Um, I think one of the best questions to start off with was like, what inspired this idea? Did it, was it something that just hit you in the middle of the night, or what brought this entire project out?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because it wasn't the middle of the night. It was actually an early Sunday morning. Back in March, last March when the pandemic started, and I had a whole line of things that were canceled, like most of us, right? We had a
Yeah.
whole bunch of things that were just all of a sudden canceled overnight, and it was just so. Honestly, to be blunt, it was so depressing, especially to listen to all of our colleagues and posting about what had gone away all of a sudden. And I just, I think you're asking me what's the thing that motivated this. It's primarily helplessness. That was what I just felt. I was thinking, what is it possible for me to do, in this situation, especially when, trips and residencies and concerts and premieres and things like that were all just canceled overnight. So I just, I don't know how it popped into my head. It was an early Sunday morning. My wife and I were here in a park right outside our condo here in Toronto, and it just somehow hit me like a bolt of lightning. What if I was just to simply start composing music? Because I thought to myself, being a professional composer, I'm often composing for a purpose. That's not to say that I never compose music just for myself or get inspired and I compose something, but most often it's being composed for a purpose. And I've thought to myself, how do I still maintain the feeling and the spirit of a purpose, in what I do, despite the fact that it was impossible to get anybody to play anything live, or a lot of commissions or projects that I was working on had to be now delayed and are still delayed right now, 10 months
Yeah.
on. And that's how it started. It just started, and it just popped in my head that I need a purpose. I need to do what I love to do, which is to compose music. And I was already envisioning, oh my gosh, we're all locked up. How am I going to still continue to connect with people or meet new people, right? So,
Yeah.
so that was a big thing for me, to use what we all know, which is music, as a means to reach out and share, just like how we connected and how I've used these past 10 months, this beautiful journey, to connect with so many colleagues around the world. And it's just been a wonderful thing with this in mind, this shared collective thing we're all going through, and still think, okay, I can still do something musically. We can all do something musically together.
Together, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And
That
I think
brings us.
that's
Sorry, go ahead, Claire.
Zoom. Yeah, that was our next question. Actually, it's got a huge response from people, not just in Canada but around the world. And we were wondering how many recordings you believe have been made so far of your music for self-isolation.
I think at this time, as far as I've been told, we're getting close to around 150 performances
Wow.
and videos posted. And that includes, mostly, people posting videos just at home, playing one of the pieces or singing one of the pieces. But there's also been a lot of special occasions like what you guys are doing, where people did a little bit more of a presentation or a concert and incorporated some of the pieces, or a live stream thing, or a tape concert. So there's been that as well. And there's also been a few people along the way that have done some very, very artistic videos, with a lot of video production,
Right.
and that's been really cool. So they've used our collaboration, as a means to start collaborating with friends like poets and photographers
Oh,
and
wow. Okay,
and
great.
things like that. And it's been really neat. I remember one person in Spain who's a very well regarded Spanish flutist, and he created this beautiful, beautiful piece of art with him playing the piece, the recording of him playing the piece, but just these beautiful, this very evocative and poignant photo collage of all of the sites of self isolation and of their town, the town they lived in Spain, like cityscapes with nobody in the streets, that kind of thing, and just the barrenness of it. It's a very, very powerful thing, to see that kind of thing, and to see that evoked, that the music inspired them to have a certain other message and so forth. So yeah, so it's been really amazing, and the outpouring has been great because I think we all want to do something that feels relevant. I would always tried priding myself on creating things that are sort of poignant or impactful to the time we live in, and obviously that is a thing. And I'm really, it's been so touching to me to see that a lot of musicians share that they're like, yes, I do want to play or sing something that's pertinent or was created about this time in history right now as we're living it.
Mm.
There's something very cool artistically about that, especially for us in a more traditional artistic discipline like classical music.
Yeah.
It feels cool to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Brilliant.
Um, we're doing the five vocal pieces you wrote for that, and we have Emily Ding, wonderful soprano, joining us, which we're really excited about. She was actually our very first guest at our first live opera review show 4 years ago or something like that. So we're thrilled that she's joining us, and I think you'll really love what she's done. But I wanted to ask a bit about for the vocal pieces you did, how you chose lyrics, or one of them is part of a sonnet, a Shakespeare sonnet. The other is a proverb, and then you have some that are written by a poet. Or I just was curious how you chose lyrics, or who you collaborated with, or
Sure.
curious.
Sure. Yeah. No. That was one of the exciting parts of this project, to source the text, because it just basically allowed me again to really get deep into the time we live in, and try to set something that felt poignant to the time. So the excerpt of the Shakespearean sonnet was referred to me. I think I might have done a post about it. I can't remember, back in the spring when I had started the project,
Mm-hmm.
composing one piece per day for like about a month, and I was doing a lot of feelers. Like I remember the very first post, I was like, if I was to do this, like what instruments or whatever should I compose for? And just it was just like a floodgate. Like I
Yeah,
was
a
just
list.
sourcing out just the idea of the project. Like if I was to compose a short piece of music, and just the list of instruments was huge. And I think I remember a colleague of mine, not a colleague, but a person I've collaborated with before, a gentleman named Reed Spencer. Do you know, either of you know Reed?
I don't
No, I
think
don't
so.
think
I think he's
so.
a I think he's a musical theater teacher at
Hmm.
is it Seneca? Is the one that
Okay.
has the music theater program?
Uh,
Yeah.
there's a couple
So
of
anyway, he's got a
favorites.
yeah, but he's got this booming bass baritone voice. He's this unbelievable, awesome singer. And I think back then, I think he not only did he, obviously say, of course, you should compose for voice, which was a given, but I think he was like, you should set this sonnet.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, and then I read the words and I was like, wow, this is pretty prophetic. It's exactly to this time, it nails it on the head, what's going on right now. So that was a given. So I took Reed's thing, and he actually ended up singing. He ended up doing a video for just him sitting at home. So it's quite nice. Huh. So the other ones, there's a biblical verse in there, and I wanted something biblical, but not overly religious, but something again more about the human spirit, or something that was a little more positive. Because a lot of the pieces that's what I'm trying to do. A lot of the pieces are quite melancholy in the set of 31 pieces, including the songs. A lot of them are heartfelt and that type of thing, but I didn't want them to be elegies, so especially for the text, it was, let's try to find something encouraging or positive. And I wanted that duet to be super, super short. Mm-hmm. So it's literally, that's it. It's like the shortest piece of the 31 in the set that makes up music for self-isolation. It's super short, but I just wanted something to be impactful that way. So I was happy I found that. That's when I found my own. The other three pieces are using text by poets that I know personally that live here in Ontario. Two of the pieces, the voice piano piece and the voice guitar piece, those are both, the words have been written by Kathleen Burke. They're excerpts of two of her poems. Kathleen is a poet that I know quite well. She's also a visual artist, and she lives in Elliott Lake, Ontario. Person I've known for many, many years, when she used to live here in Toronto. She's a dear friend, and I know she was a poet, and she shared some of her poetry. And you ever been in one of those situations musically where it's like, oh my gosh, I love what you do, and I just need the right situation to come up for us to collaborate? Yeah. Well, here, finally, that's how it was with Kathleen and also Meg, who did a voice too, I believe. And Meg is a piano teacher, a poet, and a photographer who lives in Kingston, and she writes very beautiful, evocative words that are very powerful, that I feel like says so much about the human spirit, and about the human condition. And again, it was one of those situations. Meg has shared so much of her poetry, and I love her poetry, and I was like, I needed the right situation, and there it was. But Kathleen's poems, they're very powerful. As we've been talking about lately, Danny, that we were doing that recording session recently, and we recorded the vocal piano piece, and we were just in tears. The vocal piano piece, it's so strong, this idea of having a stone in your pocket to remember people that you've lost. It just shattered us. And I was listening to the recording now, we're still editing and mixing, and I can't even listen once without crying, because Kathleen wrote that piece when she lost a close family member, her stepdad that basically raised her. And she wrote that poem as a means to pay respect and homage to a man that was a father figure to her that really she looks to. And so she wrote that piece, and that's something we can all relate to, especially in COVID. How many people have lost somebody in COVID right now? And maybe you lost somebody and you can't even properly say goodbye. So what do you have? You have memories, you have mementos, and Kathleen's word of a stone in a pocket, just to remember somebody. It's such a simple, almost primitive thing, yet it's so emotionally impactful. I think it's quite ingenious in telling the story of today. So
absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah, I loved recording that. It was very, very beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, Claire, you did it?
Yeah, Claire played it.
Yes. Yay! Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Claire played it, and then Emily sang that one. So
great. I can't wait to hear it.
No, we have loved putting this together. It's been a real privilege. Obviously, It's very different recording, as we're going to ask you about as well, recording at a distance. So I wasn't with Emily, but I was recording the piano from here where I am, and doing it all separately is obviously very different. But we were going to ask you as well about, because you just mentioned you finished a recording project of these pieces recently, and we were wondering how that came about. I believe that's at Roy Thompson Hall.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
exciting.
so it is. It was that's one of those, when it'll all be said and done one day down the road, definitely I'll be one of those top 5 musical moments in one's career. You're just going to remember as such an extraordinary special experience. So, but yeah, the when things really started, basically quick timeline. End of last March, I started writing the pieces, and then every day I released a piece, and I started circling it online, and then I ended up 31 by the end of May. And when I sort of wrapped it up at the end of May and said, okay, that's it, I've got enough, or I've had enough, of this
Yeah.
output, and people are still playing. It's awesome, but I'm not going to add any more pieces here. 31 seems good. My wife and I, we sort of talked about it and said, well, what's the life of this project? The life of this project is to use it as a basis to talk about the experience of the musician, the challenges, the hopes and dreams for the future. So we wanted to just be more than, hey, play my music or sing my music or whatever. It's like, so we did create a second part of the project, which is called Pandemic Stories, and I interviewed some of the musicians that had played, that done videos or that kind of thing, and I created these little audio documentary compositions. So I got a grant for that, to do that, which was awesome. But at the same time, we thought, well, it's awesome. Everyone's doing these wonderful, beautiful recordings and stuff, but it would be lovely to have a memento where we can use the thing of releasing an album, on the platforms and so forth, to keep bringing attention about the plight of musicians who are still struggling. So from the very beginning of this project, we've been supporting an organization here in Canada called the Unison Benevolent Fund, where we've been asking people that if they like the music and they've been enjoying the videos, to give donations to this organization, that they help musicians in need. They were in existence before COVID, but as you probably could tell, they really need help now. So we thought, if we released an album, to have a nice, beautiful keepsake and a memento with, a very polished performance, then we can continue to use that as a platform to bring attention. And so we applied for grants last spring and summer, and we started to hear back from them. And lo and behold, we're so grateful, we got some grants from Factor and from the
Good.
Toronto Arts Council. So once we got the grants, we were like, okay, well, how are we going to record this? Well, normally in my life, when I want to record something, I go to the recording studio, right? Once you get the funding. And I thought to myself, well, this could be actually quite poignant and quite interesting if we if we did it in a place maybe of stature, because we are 10 months into this, there still hasn't been any live performances. Who knows how long it will be.
Yeah.
If we were able to do it in a place which has got great acoustics for solo and duo repertoire, that was very reverberant for those types of instruments, but at the same time sort of create a poignant setting to sort of tell the setting of, here I am all alone playing or singing on this huge stage all by myself, while I see literally thousands of seats in front of me.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the concept and the vision. And as soon as we got the funding, we said, okay, if we like this concept and vision, let's just put out feelers. Let's just put out feelers out there to the major Toronto concert halls. And we literally contacted them all. And it really warms my heart, because the community, all of them got back to us, literally.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Literally, all of them. And they
Wow.
were all excited about the concept and that concept and the thing. And we were all trying to make it work, which is so amazing. And of course, they don't have anything going on. So it was a gig, for them, to have their staff work on something. So they were excited about it from that standpoint. But just to participate with sort of that vision for it. It ended up, once we got all the logistical stuff and the details, and of course, most important, scheduling, it just worked out best for Roy Thompson Hall to be part of it. And of course, it's such an amazing hall.
Yeah.
so iconic in our music community. So it felt like a no-brainer, and they're very passionate about the cause of it. And of course, we had to be sensitive about, COVID protocols and safety and how that would organize. We would organize all that, but mostly it was just scheduling, and especially because we always kept in the back of our mind that, the pandemic might get worse again because of a second wave. And when everything went down at the end of December, we were like, Roy Thompson Saul said, we have 3 days, January 11th, 12th, 13th, back to back to back. You can do it all because we figured out the schedule. We need 3 days to record the album. You want to do it then. And that was only 3 weeks out. And we're like, oh my gosh, can we arrange this? Like, we literally didn't even have any musicians booked.
Right.
And we had to really, really scramble fast. And we thought to ourselves, maybe we should do this, because what if more severe lockdown happens? We were already in lockdown, but we were in a state of lockdown where things like a recording session in that kind of space was still okay.
Still good, yeah.
And literally, the Premier of Ontario announced a state of emergency to go into effect the day after our last day.
It was the very day after.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it all worked out perfectly. If it hadn't, we would have not been able to do it. And we wanted to also get the album done and recorded in that because it would be nice to release it later this spring in conjunction with the first anniversary when the lockdown happened. So because we were able to get the recording in, we're doing editing and mixing right now, we will be able to do that. But we've done that. We have a documentary filmmaker involved. He's already shared some of the footage of one musician. He did a little edit of combining the audio from her performance with her playing on Roy Thompson Hall, and just to see the camera slowly move side to side from behind her as she's passionately playing, overlooking all the seats, all lit up like a real performance. It's extremely powerful. It was so emotional because it just reminded me how much we miss being in front of an audience. And I think that's going to be the big takeaway when it all comes out. You're going to be listening. It's going to be beautiful acoustic. You're going to hear the echo in this huge hall. And later when the film comes out, you'll be seeing the empty seats as the musicians passionately play all by themselves in this large empty hall. And it'll just remind us, oh my gosh, what would we do right now to play in front of people or sing in front of people right now?
Yeah. And also I think down the road, ideally once this is over and once we are playing and singing for people, for large audiences again, I think it'll serve as a good reminder of this time we spent away from that.
I hope so. I hope we never, once this is over, I hope we never have this happen. They say these pandemics happen once every 100 years. So if our work as a collective music community, people posting videos, you're doing your performance, this album, et cetera, if all of this is a reminder of this, remember what it was like back in that year or whatever, then that's wonderful. And we can get back to normal. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
great.
Wow.
You mentioned early spring. Do you have a date that you're hoping, like an actual date, or are you still just
We have a date, but I can't say yet.
Okay.
I can't say because there's too many moving parts yet in the next couple of weeks. So, but yeah, definitely going to be springtime. There's going to have to be something cataclysmic to happen, not to be, because I mean, that's when it all happened and went down. And gosh, if we're still in the stage now as it is now, right now, with a state of emergency, I hope it lightens up and stuff. But if it is, then I mean, just having the album come out then is going to be pretty big, because gosh, what were we're all going to say in 20, 30, 40 years, what were you doing on on March of 2020? Everybody has a March 2020 story moving forwards. Yeah,
absolutely.
It was
Yeah, it is hard to believe that it's been a year. And I think, yeah, with the album coming out, well, we'll all be waiting for it to come out. And yeah, it is going to be a very powerful moment to remember, especially for musicians with this project. So yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds like that project in terms of composing for you is tied up, or you're not
You said you weren't
necessarily adding more pieces to
No,
it.
no, I decided back in the spring it was gonna be a daily activity. Basically, from late March to early May, pardon me, I composed the 31 pieces pretty well daily, and I had a little routine. I'd compose, in the morning, do the score, and then whatever hours left in the day, I would interact on social media, and then I would pick a new instrument the next day and do the whole thing. It was a great routine, especially in those early days, because it gave me structure. I was already feeling a little bit depressed about the state of everything and feeling, like I said earlier, helpless. But at the end of May, I decided that was it. It felt like I had something cohesive and nice. And I've been composing other things since then and working on other projects, and which has been great. And I should mention, I also composed a large ensemble piece, a special large ensemble piece, which will go on the album. That was special for that album, that we recorded all the parts individually to a click track, and they're all being edited together now, and that will be a special thing. So there's a 30-second piece in that respect. But as far as that, I'm starting now to focus more, just envisioning a future where we will get to go back to doing what we love, which is to perform and present music live. And so my brain is already thinking ahead about, okay, maybe let's start to envision that day when that's going to be, or that special occasion with a collaborator, and let's start composing music for that special occasion. So I feel like just creatively I've been there and done that. It's just sentiment wise, feeling that, but now I'm trying to be optimistic and say, hey, okay, let's plan now, let's strategize, and compose and present new music that will be in celebration of the return, post self-isolation. So
yeah, we need that absolutely. Something to look for in the future. I was going to ask as well, because you said this was a very very structured process. Every day you did a piece, and that's a lot. Is that, that's obviously very different to a normal composition process, I imagine. But just the fact of composing while we've all been in lockdown, has that been very different for you from your usual way of working?
Surprisingly, yes and no. First of all, to compose 31 solo or duo pieces, that was unique. That was something I was just really proud of myself compositionally, that I had never really done before. A lot of my compositions, except for solo piano, I'm a pianist. I compose a lot of solo piano pieces, songs with accompaniment, a lot of chamber music and large ensemble stuff. But I really hadn't ever challenged myself to take one instrument and, okay, how do I make that interesting? So from that perspective, that was very interesting, especially a lot of instruments I had never composed for. There's a lot of instruments here I'd never done anything for. So it was a challenge to overcome my sort of personal sort of insecurities that, could I compose something interesting? And something varied, nothing that was the same type of vibe or feel of every piece. If there's going to be a big suite of 31 instruments or 31 pieces for all these instruments or voice, it's so important to try to have some variety. It's like a song cycle, they can't all be ballads, right? So it was that type of vibe. So I really enjoyed that challenge, and also them being short. So the fact that they were short in duration did allow me to basically churn one out each day, so to speak, and but make something interesting, that could stand on its own. So from that perspective, it's been a wonderful creative exercise in the less is more philosophy. You know,
Mm.
as a modern composer or a composer of what I like to think modern music, a lot of times, you know, my world, it's all, well, to be creative, you have to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this piece, right? So how do I do something with the complete opposite mentality? And I love that process. And the result is something when I listen to the pieces now, I'm really proud of it. Like that, oh, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to make it overboard. It's just like
Mm.
settling in into a soft, nice spot where people can enjoy it. And it's not trying to be forceful or anything, you know?
Mm.
So it felt natural, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, the pieces are very beautiful. Of course, we'll have all the information for everybody to watch,
Yes.
all the videos that you have on your website for this, and I do recommend everyone go and watch what's been posted so far,
Yeah.
and of course listen to the album when it comes out.
Yeah. We're
'Cause it's very, very beautiful.
yeah. No, we're excited.
Well,
Well,
I'm really excited. This,
yeah.
like, cause I
Yeah.
said, you know, we've had so many experiences of people doing interesting things in the past 10 months presenting it, but you guys are on really on the top of the list. This is so cool to have all five as one presentation.
Well, I think
This is
it'll be like pretty neat. And like I said, Emily Ding is a beautiful soprano who's joined us, and we've got Michael McKenzie playing guitar. He's we're very lucky to have him for all our opera review stuff. So we're yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy what we throw together here.
I'm sure I will because I've watched you guys. I watched your other videos in the series this past bunch of months, and I love what you guys are doing. So
Yeah.
I know for sure it's going to be great. So
Well, we're
We're very
we're
excited.
enjoying putting it together.
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
And yeah, like I said, I'll